Hi guys, and welcome to the set of Passive. This is Everything Else Productions' fourth and final film in their short film anthology. They have done a swashbuckling adventure, they have done a crime micro-thriller, they have done a paranormal romance, but this is their first step into the world of true horror. We have got cultists, we have got sacrifices, we have got possession. But don't worry if you're feeling scared, because I'm here to take you through it. And if there's one thing I can tell you about me, it's that I don't scare easily. Passive is Everything Else Film Productions' most ambitious project yet, with the largest crew they have ever had on set. Extensive pre-production has taken place, but with only 2 days to shoot, it's time to see if the production team can sink or swim. Everybody is busy preparing, and luckily, I'm on hand to help hand out the props. Okay guys, so we're just going to introduce a little bit about the prop department and how we work. So we are going to show you introducing prop. So John here is playing the role of the English gentleman, and we're going to introduce you to your cane, John.
Thank you.
Now, we did have a little bit of trouble sourcing a cane, so what we're going to use, the only thing we can find is this. This is going to be your pen. Now what I want you to do is when we're shooting, what we're going to do is just have the top of the hand, you know, press the top of the hand over like that. Yeah, so we can't see it like that. This is the level of professionalism that we strive for, and Everything Else Productions is this level of... No, I'm kidding, we've got you a real cane. So we're showing the real cane. This is your actual cane.
Oh, that's lovely.
I'm keeping these sweets, he doesn't know that. Yeah, on a production as busy as this one, the glue that holds the entire set together is the assistant director, often referred to as the AD. Fortunately, we have our AD, Russell Dory, on hand to keep things running smoothly. Hi guys, I'm here with Rusty, who is the assistant director and producer on Passive. So Rusty, can you tell us a little bit about what it is an assistant director and a producer does, please?
On this set, I run the set. I keep an eye on everybody. I keep an eye on all the equipment, and I make sure everything is in the right place at the right time when it's needed.
Oh, excellent. So your job kind of is a general doing a bit of, well, everything else.
Absolutely, and that's where the name came from for the company.
Oh, excellent.
I don't direct, I don't do camera work, but I literally do everything else.
Well, there we go. And that also officially means you are my boss, so I have to be nice to you.
Yes. Out of the 4 film anthology that we've made, this is probably the hardest. Not just because it's set in the 50s. On the other 3 sets, I just fell into the sets. I fell into the location that had everything there, whether we were staying overnight in hotels right on the set. Food was there, this was there, everything was there. On this one, I really struggled trying to find a location. We've had 3 locations for this one film, and I needed a barn. And I'm on barn number 4 because the last 3 have cancelled, one after the other. So I found this barn, for which we're filming on tomorrow, 4 days ago. And here we are filming now, and such a tight time. It's really hard getting certain places.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a hard film. The rewrites on the script was a dozen rewrites. Non-stop. I had to change this because of that. I couldn't get a vintage car, so we've had to change that. And it's just interacted and affected everything we do.
Yeah, I understand we have a lot of challenges. To be fair though, you've had a real good success with the village we're here today, so do you want to tell us a little bit about where we are and how they've been supporting the film?
This is a fantastic village called Stoke-in-Teenhead in Devon, and they are really, really nice people here. If you come to this village, they know you're not from here. They know everybody. They have a local shop which is volunteer based, so people work there just volunteer. They don't get paid. It's just to make sure that there is a shop for the village. And they've got one of the best schools in the whole of the West Country, which my granddaughter goes to. And we thought we'd film here because it's a beautiful location. They've got lovely buildings, thatched roofs, and lovely scenery. And we thought, why not do it here? Bring some money to the village to help them out. Hire their village hall, and you just couldn't get a better place. Beautiful.
To actually tell people watching, this genuinely happened. We were doing a photo shoot down the road. I was involved. We had photo shoots of the cultists chasing Lenka, our wonderful actress portraying Helena. Her shoe broke during the photo shoot, and one of the lovely villagers who was in his garage at the time offered to glue it for her and fix it for her while we were doing our photo shoot. So like when you say it's a friendly place, you know. And this guy didn't know what we were doing, so, you know, 4 people showed up in robes and masks with a great knife, and he was like, oh, no, I'll fix that for you. So, yeah, they are absolutely lovely here. We're really privileged to be here, aren't we? I think we're really lucky. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Rusty. I'll let you get back to doing literally everything, and
Absolutely.
catch you later. Thank you. Being a period piece, one of the biggest challenges is accurate hair and makeup for our actors. Here I am with Emily, who is our wonderful makeup artist on this project. So Emily, can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you do for makeup on a film? What does that involve?
Oh, it's different on every single film. Sometimes it's everyday makeup, sometimes it's just a bit of powder on the forehead, sometimes it's covering the whole body in blood. So different every time.
So what was it for this one? Because obviously we're doing a period piece here, set in the 1950s. Was that a kind of particular challenge? Did you have to go back and look at old photos and references?
Yeah, see this one, I had a little look, did a Google search, 50s makeup. I spoke to the main actress on what she pictured her character to look like. We worked together and we came up with a bit of a smoky eye with a red lipstick, lots of blush, just like they did in the 50s.
Excellent. And as well, obviously you talk about powder, so that's when you come to sort of male actors who aren't supposed to look like they're wearing makeup. Obviously, they all do in film. So can you tell us a little bit about that? That's kind of reduced the shine and the reflection and things, isn't it?
So a lot of the time when a male actor sits in my chair, it's get rid of any blemishes and put a bit of powder on their face. But 9 times out of 10, just the powder will do, just to reduce the shine from the lights.
Well, fantastic. So you've done great work. I mean, I've seen Lenka, our actress. She looks like she's just stepped out of the 1950s, which is brilliant. So thank you very much, and obviously we'll look forward to seeing the actors on camera later. Thank you. Even once completed, hair has to be constantly touched up throughout the shoot to ensure continuity between the shots. I'm here with Christy, who is our wonderful hair person for this project. So Christy, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you face with hair for this. So we're doing a period piece in November in England. So also you've got rain to compete with. So what kind of things have you been dealing with?
Oh, well, it's been okay actually. Just get a little bit of movement in the hair, and yeah, I think just nice and relaxed, you know, for the scenes we're doing. Just put a little bit of movement into it, bit of spray just to hold the shape as it's raining. I think we're wearing a hat, so I think just tucked behind the ears. So yeah, and it matches with the later scenes as well.
Fantastic. So you use kind of a spray to hold it to make sure you have the kind of continuity a bit, because obviously that's a challenge.
Yes, a bit of continuity. So with some of the later scenes, and you know, maybe there's a bit more action. So there's, you know, a look of perspiration, so a bit more water spraying around the roots, and it just looks more natural. There's been movement and activity, but otherwise just a little bit of movement, nice and relaxed. Whether hat on or off, then there's some sort of continuity or similarity.
Something fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I don't often have to ask questions about hair, that's why I wear a hat. Thank you very much, that was wonderful, and you've done some brilliant work. So thank you very much, Christy. Making her on-screen debut is the incredibly talented Lenka, who is playing the role of Helena Kane, the heroine of Passive, and, spoiler alert, possibly in the end, also its villain. Here I am with Lenka, our wonderful leading lady on this project. She is playing the role of Helena. So, Lenka, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about the role you're playing in this project?
Absolutely. Hello. So my name is, in this movie, my name is Helena, and I am one of the main characters where the actual story is about.
Excellent. So your role in this, obviously, you are our detective's wife, but we get to see your kind of the romance develop in the 1950s.
Yes.
And then, of course, you are involved with this cult without giving too much away, but Helena is the key to this entire film. So in dealing with this, how did you find yourself kind of approaching this character? Because this is your first film, isn't it? Your first film in a major role.
It is in my first major role, indeed.
But I know you have a lot of experience with modelling. So kind of, did you take those skills and bring them into kind of developing Helena? Or?
Yes, what I loved about this as well is because we're obviously going back in time. So I've tried to tune into the 1950s and actually put it in my head that I am not a modern woman, basically.
Yeah.
And with the modelling, obviously, modelling and acting, you can be who you are not on a daily basis. So just putting a little bit of skill from there and just kind of tuning in into the old era to help to bring the Helena to life. Thank you very much.
There we go. We obviously are looking after our leading lady there. That was Rusty, our AD, adding to his many jobs, coat man. So obviously embracing the 1950s has been fun. Have you found discovering the character of Helena? Have you found that kind of interesting, kind of dig in and find this character?
It was fantastic. I absolutely love getting to know more about her and actually understand where she's coming from, how she's thinking, how she's feeling, who are her friends in the village and things like that. I found that absolutely fascinating. Even though there will be so many things which we're not using in a movie, understanding her, how she feels and all that was very important. So I found that very fascinating.
Yeah, of course, because you come up with these backstories, don't you, for your characters to inform you when you're performing them on stage.
To understand how to behave, the body language and everything really depending on what's going on in her head. So I had to understand a bit more who Helena is, and I loved it.
So how have you found this? Well, so this is kind of like, say, your first film set as the leading lady.
As the leading lady.
How have you found being on set with everyone, and how's it been? Have you enjoyed it?
The whole team is absolutely fantastic. Everybody's so professional and so friendly as well, and very helpful, and so understanding as well. That this is my first one as well. So the whole process so far was just amazing, from the team to every single person, from directors, producers, the costume team department. Everybody was very helpful and just friendly and professional.
Fantastic. And obviously we've got quite a bit of fun coming up for Helena. I know tomorrow we are shooting the barn scenes, which I know you get some fun in that.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that as well. You get to play a bit more into the horror, don't you?
Something darker, moody. Because obviously, this is one of the beauties of being an actor, is that you can do something what you don't do in a normal life. So when you're living a normal life, and then you can do something a little bit like dark and stormy. Yeah, quite exciting.
That's it. Well, like I said, hopefully we're looking forward to it. I think tomorrow's going to be a really fun shoot.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
So thank you very much, Lenka.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And like I said, we're going to be seeing you in Passive very soon. While our hero confronts a sinister voice in the dark space, our other actors discuss their roles, sometimes leading to some surprising revelations.
He is on the campus. So is he doing the conversation specifically so that it's distraction from the van? I did not. Oh, it's the comments.
I'm here with John Ian Dredge, who is one of our lovely actors on set today. So, John, you are playing the English gentleman, or Mr. Collins, aren't you? Can you tell us a little bit about sort of how it's been working on this set and how you found kind of approaching that role and how the directors have worked with you?
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed sort of getting into the role, and being on set really helps because you feel like you're in the country setting. And I've sort of been approaching him with like that sort of southern sort of charm, like hello, how's it going, you know? Yeah. And it's really nice to work with the directors, and it's sort of I've not done the scene yet, but I'm looking forward to getting out there and just bringing him to life, basically. Yeah. And I sort of approached him by watching different sort of country characters and sort of horror films as well, you know. I don't want to give too much away, but is he all that he seems? Who knows?
Yeah, you've got that sort of Wicker Man vibe.
I've got a Wicker Man vibe,
yes. You know, out in the country, out in the... Yes. And obviously you've worked as an actor for a little while, haven't you? You've acted on quite a few different things, so this is... Is this a role? Have you ever done anything like this before? A horror role or a sort of...
I've never really done horror before, and I've always wanted to get into it, actually, because last night I watched Halloween, and I thought...
That's one of my favourites.
Mine too, actually. Yeah. The original Halloween. I mean, you can't beat it. And I've always wanted to be into something a bit creepy, you know what I mean? A bit of a thriller.
Well, excellent. Well, welcome to Passive, because
Thank
that's
you.
what we're doing. Fantastic. Well, thank you, John. I'll let you get back to your scene, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the finished product.
Thank you. I should get out there now. Where's my sheep? Over there. Hello.
Day 2 of the shoot takes us to Dean Farm. Granted to us for filming by the wonderful Peter, this fantastic location forms a backdrop for the outdoor scenes of the shoot, giving our sinister cultists their base of operations, as well as beautiful scenery for Dimitri and Helena's date scene. Hello everyone, I'm LC Valentine and I'm one of the writers on Passive. If you're thinking I look familiar, I'm also your lovely host for this documentary. But I thought I'd step out of that role and step into my writing role to give you a little bit of information about the cult and the things that we came up with while developing this film. Now, I wasn't the first writer on Passive. I came in because our wonderful producer and writer, Luke King Abbott, was very, very busy and unable to do some of the rewrites. So I came in and I dealt with some of the rewrites. But in doing so, I began to flesh out the cult. And I created some of the backstory for the cult. And I thought it'd be fun to explore some of those hidden connections. This doesn't come up in the film, it is all subtle backstory, but there's some fun little hints and connections. So our concept was to come up with pieces of historical evidence for the existence of the cult across history. And our concept behind this came from discussions with Aaron Dory, the director, and the concept that the voice in the film, whose goal is to possess Helena, is not necessarily possessing Helena as the first body that he has taken. And once we came up with that concept, we came up with the concept that he's been around for centuries, possibly even millennia, because we don't know how many bodies he's possessed, which led to the term the Forever Man coming up for him. And we created what we called the Cult of the Forever Man, Cultus Eterni Hominis in Latin, which I've probably mangled the pronunciation of, by the way, because I've only ever written it down. I've never actually said it out loud. And we came up with this concept that the Forever Man has potentially been around for thousands and thousands of years. And we came up with all these little hints that he exists in different time periods. But in doing so, we started to develop sort of hidden, subtle narratives and reoccurring characters that crop up in the mythology of this cult. So my personal favourite is there is a 1930s sort of Indiana Jones style adventurer played in images by our director, Aaron, called Albatross Franklin. And he has got an entire backstory that I've written that doesn't crop up anywhere, not even in this lore. He crops up a few times in the backstory. He discovered a cave painting that there's a photograph of. He discovered what we call the Death Mask, which is in fact the mask of the voice. He's discovered one of those, proving their existence. But we had a bit of fun linking him to an ancestor. There is a Western gunslinger called Fearless Franklin. And the reuse of the name Franklin, not a coincidence. He is supposed to be an ancestor of our hero, which is in fact me on a dime novel. It's based on this kind of Buffalo Bill, true story, Wild West dime novels that you used to get. The theory here being that Fearless Franklin told all these tall tales that he got written up into dime store novels, but one of them talks about these faceless red-robed cult members, and kind of historians dismiss it as him just telling stories, but in fact it's a sign the cult exists. And then our final piece, which was a lot of fun, was an issue of More Than Believing, which was originally introduced as a bit of promotional material for a different film that we worked on. This was created by Aaron Dory again, and it was created as a sort of paranormal pamphlet that would always get it wrong. So for Tether, the project that it was originally created for, it got it wrong. It said it said, all this stuff that was incorrect about what was actually happening in Tether. We brought it back for Passive, and in Passive again, now we're in the modern day, the cult still exists, but the writers of More Than Believing have mistaken it for aliens, which we thought would be a bit of fun. But again, in the text, there's a little hidden hint as to another fun reoccurring character, which is that the genuine shot of the UFO that has been submitted was submitted by a Mr. Collins. Now, Mr. Collins is actually in the Passive in the 1950s. There's a character called Mr. Collins. That reoccurring name, completely not accidental. It was to imply that actually maybe Mr. Collins still exists. Maybe he has survived. Maybe he too has achieved immortality. And this was a fun little element, again, that adds some serious depth to the lore that we were coming up with, because we have a textbook entry all about it that implies the Forever Man survives by possessing other bodies, but none of his followers ever have. The idea is that everyone follows him because they believe that he will grant them this immortality, but he only cares about himself, and he never has. So suddenly the idea that there is maybe another one that has now been granted that immortality kind of adds a lot of background that's not in the film. The idea that Mr. Collins is in fact his right-hand man, then the Mr. Collins we see in the film does eventually get to ascend and be the first cultist who is also granted that immortality. He has now been possessing other bodies, but he keeps his name. So Mr. Collins, who helped More Than Believing presented More Than Believing with their fake documentation, is in fact the Mr. Collins we see in the film. So those are just some of the fun little hidden connections that we've woven in to all that lore. It shows you some of the thought that can go into the background story of a film. You know, this never gets onto the camera, but this all helps kind of inform the world and make the world feel real and authentic. With any large-scale production like Passive, particularly one set in the 1950s, costume is a vital piece of the puzzle. Luckily, Everything Else Film Productions has Kerry Valentine costumes on hand to ensure that not only do all the actors have period-accurate costumes, but to design the entire look of the cult themselves, right down to hand-making the entire outfit for the sinister voice. Hi everyone, here I am in the costume studio of Kerry Valentine Costumes. I've made the long and arduous journey from my house upstairs to be here. So this is, like I said, Kerry Valentine of Kerry Valentine Costumes. This is her wonderful studio that is full of great things, but doesn't have any adjustable chairs, which is why she's currently sat on a stitch blanket. So please enjoy.
I'm just short.
She's also just short. So, Kerry, here we are in your costume studio to talk about some of the work you have done on Passive. So, can you walk me through kind of your first thoughts on making the costumes for Passive? How did it first come to you?
Initially, it was just meant to be a modern, present-day thriller. And then one day, as the director just messaged me out of the blue and said, "What do you think about this being 1950s?" So I was like, yeah, I love the 50s, I like a challenge, just do it.
So when you got that information that this was now going to be set in the 1950s, how did that change your costume design process? What did you have to do differently?
A lot more research, historical research, watched a lot of 1950s films, looked at a lot of books, old posters.
Now, of course, we can't talk about costumes on this film without talking about this handsome chap here. So, you also had to design the cult. And keeping in mind, we were a relatively low budget film. I know that for the general, most of the cult robes, you kind of went for the basic robe, but the lovely voice here had a very ornate robe. So can you walk me through a little bit about kind of your thought process with this costume, the kind of fabric you picked? And
Yeah, so we wanted him to stand out over the other cultists. So the other cultists had very basic robes, very basic fabric. We wanted to go for something that looked more expensive to show that he was wealthy and powerful and in charge. So we've got this more luxurious fabric, which was actually a pair of curtains.
So you handmade this from a pair of curtains?
Yeah.
Which shows you what you can do, because you're looking at this and you don't always pick this up on film, what the kind of luxurious silky feel this is and the lining.
It's when he's moving in the robe.
Yes, you get that wonderful drape and that flow with it, don't you? And what about these burlap faces? So obviously, now I know this particular mask was designed by a very handsome gentleman who designed this mask, but obviously the burlap was your idea, wasn't it? Did that come from the 1950s as well? You were like, we need these masks, couldn't be plastic, they couldn't be...
Yeah, in a way, when watching old films and looking at things in the wall and stuff where you've got burlap sacks and sandbags and stuff like that, and knowing that fabric was rationed after the war, so a lot of things were reused. So yeah, that's what we went for. So the other cultists were wearing just basically bags on their heads, which I made.
Well, thank you very much, Kerry. You did a wonderful job, and thank you for joining us. The hero of this story is Detective Inspector Dimitri Kane, a classic hard-boiled detective who bites off more than he can chew when facing the cult. Played by the incredible Drew Turner, he had to embrace a seriously emotional performance, tempered through a 1950s lens. I'm just taking a step out from my busy day of being a cultist to interview our wonderful star of the show. We have got with us Drew, who is playing Detective Inspector Dimitri Kane.
Hello.
Hi Drew, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the character you're playing and kind of how you had to find him and discover him?
Yeah, Dimitri's kind of losing his mind slightly. He doesn't know whether he's killed his wife or not. He doesn't know where he is or who he is. He can't really remember very much.
Was that difficult to capture, or did that come to you naturally? I know that'll come to me quite naturally, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's a completely mad person who doesn't know whether they've killed their wife or not. That comes really naturally to me. So no, it's quite quite challenging to go kind of up and down, different levels of emotion and all over the place really.
Obviously, I know we had a really intense shoot for you emotionally yesterday in a very kind of the claustrophobic dark space and bringing up the emotions, but how did you find that? Was that...
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one particular point where I had to kind of box my own shadow really, and to get into that headspace where I need to be angry enough at something to want to fight it and for it to not be there. I had to kind of run around the hall and it was quite close.
That's fantastic. It sounds like it was great fun. And how have you found this embodying a 1950s detective? We see you've got a great fun costume there, the lovely trench coat, the whole shebang. Have you enjoyed it? Did you find you kind of had to step into the 1950s role a little bit, or did you again find that kind of came naturally when you discovered the character?
I think coming into the mindset of somebody who is from the 1950s, the way they hold themselves, or just thinking about the context of the time, really, that helps to fit into the role.
Fantastic. And of course, one final question for you is, I know that you get to play with some firearms in this one.
Yeah.
So how have you found that? Because obviously you had your gun training, learning to hold a gun, how to hold a gun like you were a 1950s cop.
Yeah.
Have you had fun with that? Was that fun?
The way you hold the gun completely different to the way you hold the gun now.
I was surprised to hear that, to be honest.
And it's sort of a hangover from the 19th century or when firearms used to spark from the back. I found that really like, historically.
That is fascinating. That is interesting. And obviously you get fun of actually firing the blanks.
I was really, I don't know, afraid of it.
Was it a challenge not to flinch when you fire the gun? Because I can imagine it.
Yeah, it was.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for talking to me. Obviously, we are on a very tight schedule, so I know you've got to get back to set, but thank you very much, Drew.
Yeah.
Wonderful to talk to you. And thank you, guys.
Thank you. When can I become a Freemason?
Yes. Can you join the... I don't think of us as stonecutters from Simpsons, you know? And so, principal photography on Passive has come to an end. And while we still have much work to do, with extensive post-production now taking place, before any of that, we are all going to enjoy a long, well-earned rest. A rest that will allow me to catch up with Aaron R. Dorey, director on the project. Aaron, what can you tell us about where Passive came from?
Oh, that's a really good question. So Passive is an interesting one because normally I kind of, with the rest of the anthology, I sort of came up with a lot of like new ideas. But Passive was actually a script back when I was studying in the acting academy. We're talking sort of 2020, 2021, that kind of era. And the drama teacher he wanted us as best we can to write our own pieces to showcase the kind of work that we wanted to create. And I created a monologue, which was originally me and another character. So years later, when the producers were asking what's the fourth project, the final project in the anthology, I kind of said, oh, well, I have this story that I kind of worked on loosely back in drama school, and I'm not 100% sure if it would work. But they kind of fell in love with it, and they sort of went from there. And interestingly, on this one, I didn't write the script myself. Like in the other three, I was involved in that writing process. So for me, my kind of involvement with the script was once Luke Abbott and yourself had finished kind of building that script, then I was able to kind of deep dive into sort of the world you both created and go from there, really. So it was a very different approach for me than with the other films.
So one of the interesting things I know about building Passive is when it was early on in the anthology days, it was billed as a psychological thriller.
It was, yeah.
And then we sort of, it's still got elements of that, but it's taking quite a deep dive into horror.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Was that from you, or did that come from the script as the script was developed?
I think the thing is that because when I got given the script, I found it very easy to visualize the human characters. So I was able to sort of visualize Lenka's character, Helena, and I was able to see, you know, this classic 1950s detective that Dimitri played, and also Mr. Collins, who was played by John Ian.
Yeah.
Those characters I could find really easy, but what the cult looked like, what the Forever Man, the voice, the main villain looked like, I wasn't 100% sure. So I literally went straight to Kerry Valentine Costumes and was like, hey, what does this look like? What is this design? And she very early on, although she only had like a few ideas of where it could go and it took time to develop, she was able to talk to me about like the kind of reds that she wanted on it, and I could really kind of see like, okay, so we got this dark visual background, very grey November-esque setting, and then we've got this cult who are, you know, wearing these incredibly bright red embellished robes. Their faces are hidden, there's nothing human about them. And really, from that point on, it was working with Kerry very closely. And that's also, talking to Kerry is why, very quickly early on, much to the dismay of many people who had already started on pre-production, we decided to go with a 1950s aesthetic.
So, what made you decide, out of all the time periods we could have gone for, deciding you're going to do historical makes sense?
Yeah.
Why the 1950s?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the end of the 50s, you know, socially in England, there was a lot of repairing, I'd say, because of World War. And you're talking in this story a lot about like Dimitri's journey in his mind and about feeling kind of, he's sort of going crazy, he's not able to keep his thoughts together. And it really sort of reminded me of that idea of a soldier who's kind of going through PTSD.
Yeah.
And as you said, once you started to do your research, Lee, you know, a lot of them got really good jobs from surviving in the war and being a kind of soldier in World War II. One of the things the government did was sort of upgrade their status in life and gave them more of a go in the 50s. Money was a lot more prosperous as well, and things like that. So all of the backstory that you yourself had done, all the research you had done, had gone into the decision too. But we felt like the parallel between what Dimitri was going through and kind of the idea of what the soldiers went through when they came back from World War II was a fascinating angle for us as directors.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Az. And obviously, hopefully, you'll be seeing the film very shortly. The next phase of post-production takes us to the sound studio, where screen actor Mickey Lewis will be recording the vocals for the villainous voice. I'm here with Mickey Lewis, who is our wonderful voice actor for the voice itself. So, Mickey, you've joined Passive, you've come in, and you were doing some voice work for us.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what brought you onto the project? What kind of attracted you to it?
So yeah, I've been interested in doing voiceover work for a long time. I did, not so long ago, a couple of years, year or so ago, I narrated a short story by the horror writer Guyan Smith, which was called Hangman's Hotel. So I had to be a nasty, rancid old judge in that. A real hang 'em high, right wing. I was going to swear then, but that's probably not right. Anyway, so that was fun. So that was a certain characterization, and this one's very different because it's more like channeling my inner Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
That was very much the voice I had in my head when I read the script. I was thinking, this would be
absolutely good old Chris
Lee. Because obviously you are quite a well-known screen actor, but you do a lot of suit work usually.
Yes.
So this must have been quite an exciting opportunity to kind of step out of, for once to be the voice behind the costume instead of.
Absolutely, it's great to use my voice as a tool instead of my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also going to be doing another Guyan Smith, but Werewolf by Moonlight.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll be narrating that one, which will be an audio book, which will be released hopefully not too far off, or recorded not too far off. But this, this is very exciting. Bringing that evil character, the voice, to life.
That's it. Yeah. Did you get to see any of the footage before you come in?
I have. It's very good. Of course, it's all Drew.
Yes.
You don't see me. Well, only a little bit of my body.
Yes.
But mostly Drew. His fantastic performance. Looks the actual lighting on the film is just incredible.
Yeah, fantastic.
Love it.
Well, that means you've seen more than me. I haven't seen those scenes yet, so I'm quite excited to see them. But thank you for joining us, obviously. It's wonderful to have you on this project. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to hear your performance.
Well, I hope it doesn't disappoint.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This also gave me a chance to catch up with body actor Norman Lydiard, who plays the body of the voice. So, Norman, you were on set with us in that costume. Tell us a little bit about, firstly, how was that, being in that costume?
It was, well, for somebody who's a little claustrophobic, it was quite tight on the old breathing, but it was good to feel in that moment, in that character.
And obviously, my wife made the costume, and when she was making it, I got to try it on, so I know how warm that is. And then you were in it for quite a long time in those studio scenes, weren't you, with the heat? So was kind of a struggle? Was it fun? Was it difficult?
It sort of plays a bit. It gets quite hot underneath there, so I did have to take a break every so often to get that breather, especially when you're filming for a couple of sections, which you didn't need to be in that costume. But no, I managed it quite well. I went outside, cool myself down a little bit, and then get back in.
Excellent. And how did you find finding the character in the suit? Because I know you did a bit of rehearsal, didn't you, before you got the costume and then get into it. Did you find the costume helped change the character a bit, or?
Well, I'd like to get into a mindset. So for when I act or whenever I've been on stage in my previous thing, is that having that mindset, the costume is just an asset.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to have a costume, of course, but it's that mindset of that character. And if you're in that character, yes, of course, the costume's going to make it feel much more the part.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We've obviously seen some photos of it. There's some bits in the documentary showing it, and it's mildly terrifying in that costume. I think everyone had a great reaction when they saw it, so thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in it. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing the whole thing.
So do I. I haven't seen it yet. Thank you. And so, that's a wrap on Passive. Now, it's the work of the editors to work in the new audio and complete the film, something we're all very looking forward to seeing.